So is Joe Biden peaking at just the right time heading into Super Tuesday? And are Democrats really organizing to block Bernie? Let's get reaction now from top folks from the Sanders and Bloomberg campaigns. Let's bring in Nomiki Konst, a national surrogate for Bernie Sanders. Doug Schoen, a pollster for former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg, running as a Democrat for president. And Eric Metaxas, New York Times bestselling author. His latest, Donald Drains the Swamp. Welcome to all of you. Great to have you with us. Okay. I want to play something just to jog everyone's memory. This was back in February, the Democratic debate, and the question was asked, is anybody else worried about a Democratic socialist being at the top of the ticket? If you are, raise your hand.
Let me just ask, is anyone else on the stage concerned about having a Democratic socialist at the top of the Democratic ticket?
I'm not.
Okay, so Amy Klobuchar and Bernie not. Doug, how are Democrats going to run with that? As you know, anybody who raised their hand she's out now.
Well, look, I think the fact of the matter is, Shannon, is Democrats are nervous about it. That's what the rally tonight was about. That's what the South Carolina results, where Biden won an overwhelming victory, were about. And tomorrow will be a very real determination, potentially a decisive determination, whether the establishment can rally and stop Bernie Sanders, or at least put a wrench in his plans to run the table.
Okay, so Jill Stein, who ran last time around, she tweeted this out. She says, DNC establishment insiders are talking openly about stealing the nomination from the People's Choice. If they do, real progressives will demexit to a truly Democratic Party and leave the undemocratic party to collapse under the weight of its own corruption. Nomiki, if Bernie Sanders does not get this nomination, how does that play out for your side?
I think there's only one candidate who can win the nomination through a democratic process at 1,991 delegates, or a plurality, and that is Bernie Sanders. See, the funny thing about the 1% is it's the 1%. When you look at the working people of America and you look at where Bernie Sanders lies in these polls, he's not just getting the support of progressives. He's getting the support of a multi-generational, multi-racial working class movement that is even crossing party lines. And that is what it's going to take to defeat Donald Trump's consolidated movement of the Republican Party. Joe Biden doesn't have that. He has a bunch of establishment mercenaries who've been running to drill down on Bernie's numbers. But at the end of the day, he's going to struggle with being on stage and defeating Donald Trump just the same way he can't even defeat a movement of working class people. This is about the establishment of the Democratic Party, who is clinging to their contracts and all the money they're making in the anti-Trump movement. It's not about, you know, supporting working people. If you were supporting working people, what are you so afraid of? A Medicare for all? I mean, people are going in debt and bankrupt because they can't afford their insulin costs.
I mean, there are troubles when you poll that. A lot of people are uncomfortable with that, Democrats and Republicans alike. I want to play something the president had to say about the Democratic field tonight.
They've embraced an extreme left-wing agenda. Their plans would massively raise your taxes, destroy our liberty, muzzle our faith, and erase our sovereignty. You know that. The Democrat Party has gone crazy.
So, Eric, you know that no matter who gets nominated on the left, that's going to be the same line of attack that he has, that they're so far left and so far off, you know, out of where the Democratic Party was even 10, 15 years ago. He's going to hammer whoever it is with that same line.
It seems to me that what is happening, Bernie in particular, is the Democratic Party's worst nightmare. It seems to me, just as Trump almost can't do anything wrong, whatever he does, the stock market, you know, tanks, only to set him up for the single largest gain in a day. Like, everything seems to spin in his favor. I have this feeling that the Democrats, by trying to prop up Biden, somehow are only going to make things worse. They're going to create a situation, you know, come July, where there's incredible bitterness. If Bernie feels that he has, you know, been denied something that was rightfully his by the establishment, as definitely happened 4 years ago, I think it can only get worse and worse. I would not be surprised at this point if, you know, somebody got the coronavirus. I mean, it's almost comedy to me how, in trying to fix it, they're just making it worse and making themselves appear like, you know, that they have it out for Bernie, and all of Bernie's supporters are bitter from what happened a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't forgotten that. Okay, so here is something the editorial board says in the Wall Street Journal. Under the Joe Biden comeback, they say, Mr. Biden emerges from South Carolina as the plausible alternative for Democrats who don't want to gamble on nominating the most left-wing major party presidential candidate in history. I mean, Nomiki, there are interviews after interviews. People, it was quietly, now it's publicly. They're on the record. They're out there in front of the camera saying we cannot have Bernie win because he will lose in the fall and take the party down with him.
See, the funny thing about all those people being quoted is most of them are being supported by corporate interests. I mean, you have Michael Bloomberg, who's an actual Republican who spoke at the Republican convention, supported our former Republican president, George W. Bush. They have no problem with him, but they have a problem with a man whose platform is almost mirror to FDR's. I mean, that is where we are with this party. I'm a former DNC member. I was on the Unity Reform Commission. I know these people firsthand. Some of these people represent weapons manufacturers. They are afraid of Bernie Sanders challenging the military-industrial complex. They are afraid of not being able to take their insurance company money so that they can, you know, fix elections so that they can continue to support their clients. Bernie Sanders isn't going to be giving them jobs. He's going to be fighting for health care for all, and that's really what this is about.
Yeah,
because, Doug, you're with the Bloomberg campaign.
These comments suggest the real problems that the Democratic Party is going to face. Because while I think Joe Biden is clearly, from the public polls released today, moving in within a couple of points of Bernie Sanders and things like Morning Consult, the Sanders people are not going to go quietly. There's not going to be any sort of conciliation should Joe emerge as either a plausible challenger or the prospective nominee. And if we have a convention, I'm old enough to remember 1968 when the left was in the streets. If we have a convention like that, all that it does is help Donald Trump.
Quick final word, Eric.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I think it would be smart to try to position Bernie Sanders as like an FDR guy. He is a Brezhnev Democrat. People understand this. Working class people understand this.
I'd call him a Jeremy Corbyn Democrat.
Well, thank you. But he's a Brezhnev Democrat. Maybe Chernenko would be more accurate, or Andropov. But the point is, he is so far left. Working people in America aren't crazy. They understand that they will lose big time with his policy. So I think it's going to be a huge mess, but it will be very entertaining.
Well, tomorrow is going to be entertaining because a lot of the dust may settle, or it gets crazier from there. I don't know. Nomiki, Doug, and Eric.
We don't know, Shannon. We'll see.
Tomorrow night, hopefully at this time, we'll have a little bit more of a
Fox.
picture. Yeah, right here. We've got extended coverage for you tomorrow night.
Right.
Thank you all.